What's up, guys? That was way too radio. Holy cow. What's up, guys? This is Jared with Hunt Nashville. I hope you are doing good this morning, today, tonight, wherever you find yourself listening to this podcast. Probably driving in the truck on the way to work, if you're like me, where I listen to most of my podcasts. This week, we've got a really cool episode for you. I sat down with Scott from Special Ops Xcursions. They do a really cool job of kind of narrowing down outdoor opportunities for active duty military personnel as well as their families, but they specialize in guys that are in Spec Ops. It's a really neat organization. They have grown exponentially over the last couple of years, and looks like they're going to grow even more in the time to come. And so it was really nice just to sit down with him, talk a little bit about his background, talk about some hunting, some fishing, what they do, and some of the kind of activities that they get their guys out on, some of the kind of hunts they do, and just a really good conversation overall. So really good episode coming up. If you like this podcast and you want to hear more like it, please like, subscribe, wherever you're listening to at. We really appreciate it. It really helps us along. It helps other people find the podcast as well. We don't advertise. It's just all kind of word of mouth. We do this thing for fun. So if you like it, make sure you let somebody know about it. Leave us a rating on iTunes or wherever you're listening at. That really helps as well. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Hunt Nashville, on Facebook Hunt Nashville, and YouTube Hunt Nashville. And I think that's it. So without further ado, here we go.
Whatever. You tell me, man.
I mean, we've been recording for the last minute.
I'm in.
Scott, thanks for coming in, dude.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. What, give everybody, I know who you are. We had lunch, we met 6 months ago. Was that long ago?
Wasn't that long ago.
Okay.
It was early summer, perhaps.
Okay.
Yeah.
We met through a mutual friend who we all had lunch with, Brian, over at Southbound, and had Mexican food.
The
and
best.
Sat and talked about hunting for an hour, and it was good. And I kind of learned a little bit about what your organization does and what you guys are kind of about. But tell the folks just a quick synopsis, and then we'll get into the details later on.
Yeah, so the short story is we are a military nonprofit based here in Tennessee. Nashville area is our main office, and our program is providing outdoor adventures to active duty special operations warriors. All military branches, and again, our guys are all active duty. Kind of makes us from the rest a little different. You know, our mentality is kind of what we found out, where a lot of guys are working very hard in the global war on terror,
right,
and they're gone all the time. When they are home, you have guys who are avid hunters who lack the time to go out and put in food plots and do the work needed for a good successful hunt. So take that stress away. We get them out and their families for a really cool weekend of hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, just all things in the outdoors, all free of charge.
The coolest thing, well, not the coolest thing, but one of the very cool things to me that struck me when we started talking about it at lunch that day is that you don't come from a military background.
Civilian. Which
is amazing. What kind of led you into this particular, I mean, there's a lot of like veteran-based outdoors organizations, and that's awesome. Kind of general veterans and maybe people who specify in Army or whatever. Yeah. What kind of led you into Spec Ops side of things?
So let's hit the long-ish story. So, you know, I grew up in western Tennessee, farming community, smaller towns, and a lot of guys there. You farm, get a job in a factory, or go military. So it's a military presence is very, very large. So we had some good buddies who went special operations, 20 years ago after high school, and just kind of honoring them, giving back a little bit. And we saw these guys and how hard they work for our freedom.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say thank you. And we're all hunters and outdoorsmen, so we say thank you by doing a free hunt.
That's awesome. So it started just literally buddies that were kind of in that particular career avenue that you decided to take out and just kind of branched out from there?
Sure did. So we had a hunting club for several years, several friends of mine. And again, we're all just huge hunters. We love it, enjoy it, do it year-round. Hunt, fish, something in the outdoors. So the hunting club thing ran on for 4 or 5 years, had a blast with it. And then kind of fast forward or retrack back to 2012. I visited a good buddy of mine over at Fort Lewis in Washington State. He was a Green Beret there, had been for many years. And just talking to him about, the military, being a civilian, I knew what the Army was, what a Green Beret was, but what he did, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And so we had that long discussion of me, like, what do you really do for our country? And it's like, hey, I'm gone 9-10 months a year, either deployed or training every year. It's not like I'm gone 1 year, home for a year. I'm gone 6 months deployed, home 3 or 4 weeks, and I go to train out west or train here or train there. So he's never around.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you must love the outdoors here in Washington State. I mean, these beautiful rivers for fly fishing, camping, hiking. You're in the mecca of the outdoors. He's like, I don't go anytime. I'm not from here. Can't afford a lease. I lack time to really scout public ground properly. So if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. He said, I just don't go.
Wow.
And that was kind of the big moment of like, I have this hunting lodge, Tennessee, a little farmhouse full of bunk beds with turkey and deer in the backyard. I'm like, let's fly out here. Let's do some hunting together and just relax for a weekend. You need it. You look tired,
Yeah.
He kind of lit up like, that sounds amazing. Like, I would love that. Get back home, do some with your buddies, some hunting, fishing, get your first deer, all of that fun stuff.
So where do a lot of the guys come from as far as like locationally in the United States? Are a lot of them out of Tennessee, or do they come from all over, kind of like your buddy?
The early days, we turned 4 years old last month. Okay. So it's kind of a big deal for us. That first year we had, call it 50 guys in the program. And that was primarily Fort Campbell-ish area. Quickly, though, after that first year, the phone calls started coming from the East Coast and West Coast. Because guys talk hunting and fishing how we do for our podcast. Mm-hmm. We talk hunting and fishing in our free time. And so when guys are downrange, same thing. It's post-mission. You meet somebody wearing a mossy oak hat, and you're like, oh, do you hunt? I do too. Where do you hunt at? And so random emails and phone calls from guys across the pond like, hey, I met your buddy so-and-so at this base. I love duck hunting. Can I come out? And I'm like, yes, you can, for sure.
Right.
And so things really grew organically through the military channels. Advertising for us consists of a Facebook page, Instagram page, and that's it. No camera crews, no video, filming hunts at all at our trips.
Well, and that's what you mentioned before, and then again, which makes a lot of sense, is anonymity is really important to you guys.
It is. It's for our entire focus is the troops, giving them a stress-free, laid-back, fun weekend. And putting a camera crew in their face isn't a bad thing at all. Mm-hmm. But guys rather go out there, sit by a fire pit, cell phones turned off, nothing going on but a cigar, a glass of bourbon, watching, hearing birds fly by or hearing coyotes in the backyard at sunset. That's relax, 100%.
Well, they're not coming out to be hunting stars or hunting celebrities. They're coming out to get away from a lot of the stuff and the pressure.
It's a weekend away. Then Monday they're back in the office. They're back on the gun range, and they're across the pond again. In 2 months.
Wow. So how many events do you guys do every year? Do you think?
We do events every weekend now across the entire U.S. So
holy cow!
We do events in 25 states. Okay. In Africa right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
African safaris, family trips, fishing, duck hunting.
That's awesome.
Big game.
How the hell do you coordinate all of
that? So I've got a full-time day job here in Nashville. Yeah. Our program's all volunteer-based. No one's paid. But our volunteers are patriots. They're guys who really want to give back, who we all kind of share the load, and we do middlemen. We find local outfitters, guides across the entire country. You may know an elk hunting guide in Colorado. Yeah. You may call them up and go, hey, here's this cool program. Let's send some guys out, some Green Berets, Navy SEALs for a cool trip. They call us up. I play middleman. I may book airfare or rent a car, help get the guys there. But once they're there, we're kind of out of touch a little bit. Again, we're just logistical masters of our domain here, sending guys here and there for cool trips.
That's awesome, man.
So now with that, we do events across the entire country, and our guys are also based across the country.
Okay.
So you had a phone call yesterday for some guys on the West Coast looking for a big game or a duck hunt in that California, Colorado area. So I'm working on that tonight. Had a phone call Monday for some guys who are across the pond still, who are getting back home in a few weeks, and they've missed the last 3 in a row deer seasons being deployed. Right. They're like, man, we've not killed a deer in like 3 years. Like, we're jonesing to go deer hunting. What can we do? I'm like, stand by, give me 3 or 4 weeks. I'll find you some outfitters. I'll find some volunteers, and we'll send you and your team out for a cool deer hunt somewhere.
Is it all kind of outfitter based, or do you have any like private people that want to take them out on their farms?
Probably 50-50.
Okay.
I say half is just, good old boys down the road who have their little deer lease or deer farm, and they'll block out a weekend per year for us for a turkey hunt or a dove hunt, whatever it might be. The other half are actually professional outfitters who have their unbooked days, and they'll call us and go, hey, I'm an outfitter for duck hunting in North Dakota. I had this one week that didn't book up this year, sent me 6 guys for a cool duck and goose hunt.
Wow. Yeah, that's insane, man.
Yeah.
So how many people have gone through and done hunts at this point? Do you have any clue?
So last year we had 334 men and their families out last year. This year we're tracking about 500 for this season.
Crap.
And then, next year might be 1,000. I mean, we're kind of doubling in size every year. So if that trend continues, it might be 1,000-person year for us globally.
Wow. And it's all kinds of hunting, like not just specifically waterfowl or specifically whitetails.
Again, probably our biggest request is waterfowl hunting for some reason. I mean, it's the camaraderie aspect with your buddies. You're having the good food.
It's easy to do as a group.
Yeah, you're hazing your friends for missing. It's just fun. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Followed up by turkey hunting.
Okay.
Number 2 request. We sent out probably 80 guys this last spring across the country.
Oh, wow.
A lot of deer hunting, a lot of dove hunting. We'll do upland bird. A lot of fishing trips across the U.S., fly fishing east and west coast in the mountains.
Wow.
Yo-yoing for catfish, bass, crappie, bluegill, kind of you name it all. Then we also do family outdoor events, like family field days. We did one here in Nashville back in July. Brought out 20 operators and their spouses and kids. 100 folks total for a great day at a private stocked lake here in town. Fishing rodeo. Nashville artists come out with guitars, did a little pick and grinning session, played some live music for everybody. Some barbecue guys here local cooked all day and all night. We had amazing food. I'm trying to think. Final Flight Outfitters there in West Tennessee gave duck calls to all the kids.
Wow.
So I had duck calling lessons set up, cornhole, ATV rides. Just a really fun day to introduce your spouse and your kids into the outdoors. That was kind of the goal. And then we signed them up there for youth deer hunts, youth duck hunts, everything else to really inspire these kids to same thing. Your dad's gone all the time. When he is home, come with him. Yeah. Make it a family experience.
No, that's awesome, man. No, that's a really good idea too, of kind of getting the whole family involved, and because that is very true, and it never crossed my mind. I have several friends in the military, but never really considered, like, when they're gone, and when they're home. But like the things that they want to do and their hobbies and the things they miss when they're gone, they don't necessarily want to take time away from their family because they're only home for a minute amount of time. Like trying to push and getting the kids and the spouses involved so they can, the guys or the girls can do what they like to do and bring their families along. That's awesome.
It's a good experience. We're wanting to at some point, start offering hunter ed classes for these families as well. So again, dad's back home. Let's do a very safe, friendly, soft, exclusive hunter ed course and get their wives and kids legal so they can do more events with us together. Right.
Do you have one hunt that you've been involved with? Because I know you say you don't get to go out in the woods very much with the guys, but do you have one that you've been involved with in the last 4 years that you can point to and be like, this is a, not that it's your favorite, I won't make you play favorites, but one that sticks out immediately when we're talking right now?
I mean, they all stand out in their own way. You just, hearing the guys' stories, and it's not that we're about the story. We don't ask those kind of questions like, how was your last deployment? It's never asked, but, but guys will tell you. You're in the duck blind together with 4 or 5 guys who are teammates, and they're battle buddies, they're best friends, their spouses are best friends, and they're in the blind telling you about their day job.
Wow.
And just, again, for me, I have a lawn care company here in Nashville. It's my day job, so I'm not in their world, and it's mind-blowing every event, just hearing the patriotism from the guys, that they love this country so much, that they're going to be gone for 20 years, 9 months a year. Like that's for me incredible to even ponder that you would give up your wife, your kids for 20 years to defend our freedoms. Yeah. So again, it's not really just a single event that stands out, but it's every event really does have that major impact on me, all of the volunteers, just saying, thank you for your service. Yeah. It really is this, we're blessed to have them in our country.
Oh, that's very true. Well, and it's amazing to me, as I kind of thought through it over the last week when we finally got the schedule, that an organization like you guys, which is, I know it's you and all your volunteers, but something that's very much pushed as most of those things, their mainstay of getting the word out of social media and like being able to say, well, such and such was deployed here and this is what he did, but like having added that layer of anonymity for these guys so they can just kind of be themselves and not have to worry about all that. It's amazing how you haven't had to have that insane social media presence for word to get out and spread literally into other countries, and to have 300 and something events last year. I mean, that's really incredible.
Oh, we're blessed.
Yeah. And so I think it speaks volumes to the program itself that, that everybody's in it for the right reasons, because nobody's posting on Facebook about it. And like, I took this guy out today, and, all that kind of stuff that social media is great for, but it's also terrible for when it comes to something like this, where it's like everybody's going to put on their best face possible and try to make themselves look like awesome human beings when they're volunteering for something. Yeah. But you're kind of rooting out people and volunteers when you're like, well, you're not going to get anything. You're not going to get any pats on the back for this. You know what I mean? Like, you will from us, but you're not going to get a bunch of likes and comments on Facebook for you doing a great thing. You're going to get the ability to do something awesome and something for someone else with expecting zero in return other than the experience of doing something for someone else.
Yeah, it's pretty wild watching our sponsors grow as well. For the same thing, guys call us up, hey, we're going to sponsor your program with X items. Yeah. But we're going to come out and we want to do a film. We're going to film the hunt, put it on TV, and we're like, respectfully, I'm declining your services and your products. Yeah. And they're kind of floored, like, what do you mean? I'm like, we just don't do the TV show thing. They're like, well, give us more background on the program. We'll have to give us an hour-long phone call. And by the end, they're like, you know what? Take the product. It's good. It's solid. Yeah. Tag us on Instagram at some point. Yeah. And we'll call it even. And you're like, thank you. Yeah. That's just a big deal for us.
No, it's awesome.
Like Heavy Shot gives us duck hunting ammo for every duck hunter across the country. Wow. It's free of charge. They get nothing for it. Yeah. Instagram tag, and that's really it. Yeah. And they're just all about that. Like, it's for the troops, for the vets. Like, we support them, support you. Just go do the good thing.
Yeah, it speaks a lot for those companies too, that they're willing to be like, we don't need all the praise and glory or need a marketing opportunity out of this. Just like, here, we want to do something good. Yeah. Here's the product. Put it to good use. That's awesome, man.
Good people.
Well, I'm glad you guys have had the success you've had so far. I mean, obviously, I hope it continues to grow. Maybe not for your stress sake, but for everyone else's sake. I'm sure it can't be an easy thing to try to put all this on. And at least, like I said, I know you have a lot of volunteers, but trying to coordinate all this stuff, to me, sounds like a logistical hell.
Oddly enough, it's not terribly stressful. The guys on base make it very easy. They say, hey, we're free this weekend, next month. I've got 4 guys who want to go do A, B, or C, whatever it might be. Then our volunteer base, I send a group text out, like, who's free to carry out 4 guys for a doe archery hunt this weekend? And it's always been a half hour. Someone writes back, I'm on board. Wow. I'll do a text link up or an email link up, and it's pretty simple.
It kind of drives itself from there.
It really does.
That's awesome. Well, how did you, I know you say you grew up in West Tennessee. How did you get into hunting originally? Was it a family thing, a dad thing?
Yeah, so my grandparents raised me. They weren't really hunters, but we're on a farm, middle of nowhere. And, we had guns in the gun cabinet, had my ATV, the four-wheeler out back, or, go-kart. And this was, back in the 80s and 90s, all things social media and TV and phone-based.
Nothing to do.
It was a boring farm. So, like, when wintertime hit, that's what I did. I go out and walk the fence rows, walk the creeks with my granddad's little single-shot 410, and I may kill a quail, may kill a rabbit or a dove, and come back to the house. And I'm like, hey, I shot this. Or like, awesome. Like, let's dress it and cook it up. Right. So it kind of started off with that. Then a few of my neighbors got into high school, and they loved the same thing I did. So we're hunting a little more than, of course, being in that West Tennessee waterfowl flyway. Yeah. There's just ducks everywhere. So you kind of get into duck hunting. That happened. And, deer hunting back in the mid-'90s. There were a few deer on our property, not a whole lot. Now we have deer to hunt. At that time, there were no turkey on our property, but now we have turkeys. Yeah. But we had doves galore, plenty of doe. So you just kind of, after school, weekends, what you did. You went out with your buddies and had some fun in the outdoors.
Right. So you said you really started off duck hunting at first. Is that kind of your mainstay?
But dove hunting was the very thing I really recall loving. Like being in the backyard, like right now, September, you're cutting your cornfields. You drive by, feeling there's 100 doves in this place. Like tomorrow at sunrise, I'm going to be here. Right. You call a buddy or two up and you kill your limit. Like that was the first, like that was amazing. Like I loved that. I need more of that. Right. And that kind of led me more to the wing shooting things. Like that's my primary love, of course, is duck and goose and dove hunting. It's that wing shooting thing, shooting sporting clays and trap. I love that. And so I try to do all I can. I work really hard 9 months of the year to be off during duck season. All I can be to chase ducks anywhere I can. Just get after them.
Well, and it's a hardcore. I was having this conversation with a buddy who we did the podcast with. It was Trace, and we were having a conversation about it's weird how birds and bird hunters and specifically in the hunting community, for some reason there's something about a bird that makes people go insane for hunting. I mean, I know like elk hunters are hardcore and whitetail hunters are hardcore and all of that, but like nobody compares to like a turkey hunter or a waterfowler or an upland hunter. They go all in, especially waterfowl guys.
Yeah.
Like it's a full all in. You don't kind of hunt ducks. You're either a duck hunter or you're not a duck hunter.
It's a year-round thing.
Yeah.
You know, we're working on leases and developing properties year-round, planting food plots, you know, not an acre, but like acres of food plots for standing corn or milo or millet just to flood in the fall. But then you're working on your wells, your levees, buying decoys, buying extra duck calls that you don't need, but you have to have.
You got a neck full. You've got 20 duck calls, and you'll pull 2 of them up in the morning.
Exactly. But you need 2 more at all times.
You need 2 more just in case they freeze up.
You just never know.
Do you have a dog?
No dog. No.
Okay. So you retrieve your own birds?
We do. Now, a lot of buddies that do have, you know, labs and chassis, and it's great to watch them work. But, you know, again, for me, you know, I go on lots of duck hunts. I don't always shoot my gun. I'm just there to kind of help the volunteers, help the guys. Like, I'm the gopher. Like, hey, you know, this decoy turned over. Cool, I've got that.
Right.
Y'all keep hunting. You're calling. They're shooting.
I'll take care of it.
Give me your task. You don't want to do, I'll do your task.
Yeah.
And so take my phone out and I'll video, take some pictures of the hunt, and the guys having a good time. Then the hunt wraps up. I'll do a group text to the troops and go, hey, here's 4 or 5 videos I took from the blind. It's not their faces. There's nothing of, you know, to identify them. It's like just some birds in the hole working in, giving us really cool memories.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What's your like, what is your, since you're like a hardcore duck hunter and you said turkey hunter as well, but what's your like ideal duck morning? How does it look? Like if you, perfect Western Tennessee duck hole.
So I guess you'd kind of call it a flooded timber, like some oak bottom, cypress bottom, standing in a slough next to a tree.
So you don't like to be out in the field?
Oh, I love the field as well.
Okay.
Like you said, the ideal day. The ideal day is in the woods.
Okay.
Those are pretty rare.
Why do you enjoy the woods ones more?
I don't know. Something about it's just peaceful.
You think so?
Yeah. Watching the birds, when they get in that timber hole and they're kind of maple leafing down in your face and you're by a tree. For me, I still get nervous. You know, I'm almost 40 and I still get the shakes. I'm like, oh, that bird's so close. I can't move. I can't mess this up.
Right. Is it like everything frozen over or just a little chilly?
A little chilly, yeah. You know, the good cold morning, a little crisp air.
Right.
Boat ride in, you're cold, but no ice in the water. Now, you know, in a flooded cornfield, give me a little ice.
Really?
Break a little hole out in front of the blind.
Right.
You've got some roost ducks flying back in. It's right there in your face. Again, watching the troops more than anything, watching them just giddy, like, you know, they're 40-year-old men, but they're still giggling. They're like, this is amazing, and they're freaking out. Like that for me is the rush.
It's a hard experience to try to explain to someone too.
It really is.
Like I've tried to put it into words. Like I did a small amount of duck hunting. I probably went out a half a dozen times when I was a kid. A lot of it was reserve and tower hunting, like we were talking about before. But it's hard to explain that feeling of like a small flock of ducks working into timber. I went hunting with my dad and my uncle, and right outside of Tallahassee, Florida. It was the first timber hunt I'd ever gone on, and I wasn't old enough to shoot. And they 3 or 4 of my uncle's buddies and my dad went out, and I remember getting there, right? It was just like the whole experience of going to the gas station, getting the biscuit, and going in and walking in, wading in. I had to borrow my uncle's waders, so they're like, I was like 13, and they were up to my head.
Too funny.
Yeah, and they, but I remember that first group of ducks coming in, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like, and I wasn't even shooting, but I remember like my heart racing.
It's a game changer.
Because everybody's down, kind of ducked down behind their tree, and all just waiting for somebody to call it. You know, it's insane.
It's a rush, man. You know, deer hunting is the same thing. So you see that big buck, you wait for that big buck all season. For me, duck hunting, every flock is that same buck fever that you may get 40 times in one day.
Yeah.
It's like the entire day you're high-fiving, you're giddy. It's just that high octane, wide open level all day. I love that rush.
Well, and that's what like we were talking before. I was kind of like lost a little bit of my luster for whitetail hunting. I still love it and enjoy it, and we'll still go. But I kind of lost a little bit of my drive, and I think it's because as I'm certainly not old, but the older that I get, the more I appreciate that community, camaraderie based hunting that we get out of ducks and doves, and for me, particular turkeys. Of like I love turkey hunting by myself and I enjoy it, but I really enjoy going with someone, even if I'm not the shooter. If I'm just leave my gun in the truck and I'm just going to call, like that activity of being able to joke back and forth and talk and learn things together. And, you know, I've been turkey hunting for 15 years, and I still, every time I go in the woods, I figure something out.
Yeah.
A bird outsmarts me somehow.
Sure.
Even if it's just a hen, she figures something out that I didn't know she could figure out. So, I think duck hunting for sure has got that same kind of thing of like you were talking about before, poking fun at people when they miss, and you getting to have to take it when you miss, and
of course
somebody calling it when it's time to go. That's what I love about turkey hunting with somebody. It's like you're sitting on the same tree and the bird's working in, and you're just like, wait,
don't move.
Yeah, exactly.
Be still. Don't blink.
Exactly. It's like that communication of that teamwork of trying to trick this animal into getting in close enough for a shot it's a big rush for me. It's a bigger rush to actually shooting the animal for me.
Like we took 3 guys from the Army on a goose hunt last December, North Dakota, Bismarck area, and it was one of those trips. So I think one of the guys was his very first time waterfowl hunting ever. First time ever. Another guy went with us, had been waterfowl hunting through our program 3 or 4 times. But, you've had bad hunts and good hunts. He kind of caught some marginal shoots, killed a few ducks, not very many. Third guy with this, same thing. Been on a few duck hunts, nothing, incredible or great. That big day. Went up there expecting, not really sure, really. It's cold. It's in the teens and snowy and brutally cold. We're in layout blinds on a cut cornfield, hunting Canada geese. And the guy shot so many birds so quick. It was just that incredible hunt that you shoot a limit of Canada geese in a couple of hours. We had some snow geese fly by. We dropped, 15 in one flock. And so the hunt wraps up, and we're kind of, high-fiving, doing the good thing with the guides, shaking hands, saying thank you, some bro hugs. And the guys are like, yeah, this is my first time, killing a limit of anything. And I'm like, oh, it's your first limit. Congrats. Another guy, was like, it's my first waterfowl hunt ever. And I'm like, dude, you're ruined.
You're absolutely ruined.
Yes. We hunted for 3 days and killed, 120 geese legally, in your face, 15-yard shots. And they're like, how do I hunt anything else? I'm like,
it's almost like I wish you wouldn't have come on this hunt. I wish you would have gone on something else.
Anything.
We have buddies like that. We've got buddies that'll come out and we're like, turkey hunting's really hard, man. I was like, we may not even hear a bird. It's like, if we hear one, we'll try and work it, but may hear it off on somebody else's farm, or if it's on public too far over, somebody's already hunting. And inevitably, almost probably 75% of the time after I've gone through this long soliloquy of why the hunts may not be good, trying to prepare them, we'll step out of the truck, a turkey will gobble to the door slamming, and we'll shoot it off the... It's just like, I'm just like, why can't it ever work? I need to almost tell myself that every morning I go hunt by myself. Sure. It's like, now you remember, it's going to be really bad, just hoping maybe that mojo will rub off on me. Because I'll go out for 10 mornings and, maybe hear birds or have a bird work and then hang up for some reason that God knows why he stopped. Or a hen intercepts us or whatever the thing is. But it's sometimes beginner luck is like, it's the best kind of luck you can have.
Oh, hands down. And most of our guys are first-time turkey hunters. They've heard stories. They may have hunted it back home in high school 15 years ago. But going with a volunteer or a guy with us is their first time really going out seriously hardcore for it.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of guys get that beginner's luck. And they kill that bird on Saturday. I've had guys kill birds on Saturday and Sunday.
Wow.
And double up that one weekend. This spring it was cold and rained, in Tennessee area. It was just off season for turkey.
It was a really off season. I didn't kill a bird. I called one in for a guy, but I didn't kill a single bird this year.
Of our 80 hunters, we killed maybe 18, 20 birds this year. Last year, 70 hunters and killed 35, 40 birds.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like telling guys every year is different. We may kill 35 this season and may kill none at all next year.
And it's amazing, too. It's like I was hearing reports from guys in Kentucky just laying them out. And I'm like, that's not that far away. Why are the birds working up there and not working here, I couldn't get a bird to work to a call. I called one group of jakes in opening morning, and my buddy had never killed a turkey before, and he shot one. And I was like, oh, it's going to be a great season. Rest of the season, I couldn't get a bird to work. Not to within 100 yards. I mean, every bird that we had would gobble his head off for 20 minutes when he hit the ground, and then he'd shut up and move the other way. But I've got buddies in Kentucky. They're like, oh my gosh, we're rolling them out on our farm
every day, killing birds.
Like I'm living it out, and we're a week and a half into season. I'm like,
I've heard 4 gobbles.
Exactly.
Rubbing in a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It speaks to no matter how much we try to figure it out and how much we think we've got it, and we're checking the weather on our phone, and I'm looking at barometric pressure and how the moon phase is for whitetails and ducks, and I don't know if it affects turkeys. I don't ever look at it for them, but no matter what you do, nature's going to do what it does. It doesn't matter. It
Every
doesn't matter
time.
if you try to work around it or not. I've had some of my best whitetail hunts when it just started like raining for no reason. Normally I would have stayed at the house. I just don't like sitting in a tree stand in the rain and the cold if I don't have to. But I've had some of my most memorable hunts of killing deer. Like it's raining. It stops. A deer walks out. Multiple times. Probably a handful of times where it's actually happened that way. And it's like, normally I wouldn't even come and hunt today because I saw it was going to rain. It randomly rained and I shot a deer.
Gotta go. It's one of those things. You just gotta be out
Can't
there.
kill them at the couch.
You know, work is work. You sneak away when you can, and you get in the outdoors and soak it all up.
Do you see like a big learning curve for the guys that you end up? Is all guys? Have you guys taken any women hunting or?
A few spouses.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it? Do you see a big learning curve for the guys that are coming in? Like, do you guys have to like have an introduction or a briefing before you go hunting? Like, here's kind of what you expect for turkeys or whitetail or whatever the thing is.
And they're all a little different. The good thing for us, most of our guys are weapons experts, so you can go through mechanics of why you follow your swing through for a waterfowl, mechanics of the deer. You know where you're aiming at.
Right.
A safe distance to shoot. Yeah. Yes, you can shoot to 1 mile. You are a sniper. But for deer hunting on our property,
An ethical shot on our deer,
at 100 little plus yards, you know, you're not going to miss.
Right.
We understand that, but just let the deer get close because it will get close.
And it's going to get really far before we get to it.
Yeah. So we do, you know, pretty good sized learning curve, and but we do that little basic intro of this is how you do it. This is why you do this, and the guys soak it up. They're used to following orders. So you kind of lay it all out, and they're going to abide by that.
They're used to a mission briefing.
Exactly. But, you know, there's some funny stories as well, so I won't go into it too hardcore.
Yeah.
Funny stories. Here's a good one, though. We did a dove hunt a few years ago, and we had 3 snipers come out and got there Friday night. We hung out with them. They're like, oh, yeah, you know, I'm an excellent marksman out to these, you know, crazy distances. Yeah. And I'm like, it's amazing, you know, like. Y'all should do like a training class between the buddies, teach us a long range shoot, and we'll trade this little dove hunt. It'd be a good time. Yeah. So I'm like, so it's your first time hunting doves? Well, it is, but we get it. We get this. I'm like, okay, you know how leading works and following the birds and your follow through. Oh, we've got this. Don't worry. You know, we've got this, boss. So we got it. Next day in the field, you know, noon hits. I'm like, this little ridge line, birds cross this ridge really low. Like, you're going to kill your limit pretty fast. Like, get ready. Here's some ammo. Here's some bottles of water. Here's a dove seat. Y'all have fun. Man, they're hammering. It's just pop, 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 nonstop. And I'm like, we're at the house cooking up food, watching football, opening day thing. Yeah. These guys are hammering. We're like, this is amazing. We're so fired up. Get on the Ranger and drive out there. Like, where are your birds at, guys? And they're like, well, right there on the ground. And so I'm looking around, I'm like, well, I see 3. So I see holes and I see 3 birds. Where are the rest at? And they're like, well, that's it. Pretty awesome, huh? And I'm like, y'all have shot 200 rounds and you've got 3 birds. I'm like, I'm just going to watch you guys hunt for a second. So there's birds across the field and they're heading our way and they're 80 yards out. And again, they're snipers. So 80 yards out, they pop up and pop, 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 3 shells. And I'm like, okay, so effective range is like 30 yards, 30 meters. You know, let me get closer. Like, that close? I'm like, yes, that close. Yeah. And so birds fly a little closer. They raise up. Same thing. Pop, pop, pop real fast. I'm like, okay, got to do a follow through. They're flying really fast. This is a sunflower field coming in to feed. You know, get in front of that bird. Like, man, this is hard. And so my buddy walks up and same thing. Bird flies by. He raises up. Pop, 1 shot. Bird falls dead. And they're like, ooh. Like, that's really good, man. You're good. And you're like, Clint does our entire life. Like, you're new to all this. Yeah. So give them more ammo, encouragement, a few more lessons. We leave, go to the house, and they're hammering down. A buddy of mine in the field walks up, like, hey, your guys are all leaving the field, walking out. Gave them more shells, and they're still hunting. I'm like, great. So, like, no joke, these boys probably shot 400 rounds and killed 10 doves all day. They were humbled. They were humbled. But they were like, man, like, this is tough.
It's a different thing.
An AR or a Glock 19 or a long-range rifle, like, I'm a surgeon, but this is tough. Like, this is crazy.
It's a different world. Well, especially with dove hunting, too, and I have to preach this every year. I'm a pretty patient dove hunter, and so we'll be sitting in the field, and there'll be a bird working in, and you'll hear a bird from the other end of the field, and you'll look around, and there it is, and it's flying right towards me, and, you know, doing the thing that doves do, especially when they're in pairs. They're cutting back and forth. And I'm just like, I keep hearing like, why aren't you shooting? Why aren't you shoot? And I'm like, I'm still on my stool. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Like, give me a second.
Yeah.
I'm like, because here's the problem. And I shot a bird. He fell. I killed one out of the pair. And I walked over, and one of my buddies was like, why didn't you shoot? I'm like, here's the problem. Y'all are shooting at birds that are 80 yards out, and nobody else is getting a shot at that bird. You're taking a shot at that bird. That bird's going in the next county. He's not coming back. I was like, let that bird get in close, and then if you miss, there's still a good chance that somebody else can get a shot. I was like, but here y'all are. Y'all just want to shoot, and that's fine. I was like, but there's a box of skeet behind the cabin, and there's a thrower back there. Y'all go shoot over the pond. Because I'm like, You're ruining this hunt. I mean, I didn't say it quite this abruptly, but I'm like, you're ruining this hunt for everybody else because there's no way you're going to kill that bird. Literally, it's mathematically impossible for you to kill that bird at 80 yards. It just won't happen. Not with a 12 gauge, not with a 20 gauge, not with a cannon. You're not going to kill that bird. And so that's the exact thing. Is like you kind of have to talk through people. But some of these, and that's not all my guys are like this. I have a couple. It's like every dadgum year I have to have the same conversation. It's like I almost need to do a briefing when we're at lunch, because I almost always do a safety briefing because we inevitably have a couple new guys that have never dove hunted and low bird, and make sure that if there's no sky behind the bird, you need to double think your shot, and some simple stuff like simple general ground rules. But I always forget to bring up there's no scope on your shotgun for a reason. Let the bird get in close. I guarantee if you don't pop up the minute you see him on the other side of the field, if you just sit still, he will fly right over you. And y'all are jumping up as soon as you see the bird, and he's flaring. Why is he flaring? I got to take a shot at 80 yards. I'm like, well, that's because you popped up the minute you saw him. Like, just be a little bit patient and sit there. He'll come in front of you, or he'll go in front of somebody else.
Yeah. It's a learning curve for new guys. It really is.
It is. And it's a different kind of, it's like waterfowling, but it's a little bit different kind of sport you can't, if you've turkey hunted your entire life or elk hunted or deer hunted your entire life, but never dove hunted, you just wouldn't quite understand. Even quail hunting and pheasants is different because then you're jump shooting.
Sure.
So having to shoot a passing shot on a bird like a duck or a dove is a totally different experience.
Again, it'll humble you very quickly.
It will.
You think you're a good shot, and you're like, I'm horrible. I mean, I've killed one bird in a box of shells.
Well, that's the thing. This year I shot. We were talking about before we started. We had an average hunt. It wasn't great. It wasn't awful. It was just kind of so. And I shot 3 boxes of shells and killed 11 birds. It took me 75 shots to kill 11. And I didn't start hunting. I didn't go out until 4. Everybody else was out there at 12:30 after they finished eating lunch. I was like, I'm not going out to sit. I shot that many shells in 3 hours. And that's pretty good for me. It'll take me 4 boxes of shells to limit out, generally speaking. And I've been dove hunting for a while. It's nothing new. But I've got guys around me that he'll remain nameless, but one of the guys that hunts with us every year, he killed 2 more birds than me. And I was like, how many boxes? He was the only one shooting these orange. They had an orange casing. And he was the only one shooting them. And I'm walking around the field we try to pick up our casings, but, sometimes you don't. And most of them are red or green or purple, and they blend in. But he had these bright orange ones. And I'm walking around the field, and I'm like, dude, did you not pick up any casings? And he's did you not pick up any of your empty holes? And he's like, no, I did. And he shows me his bag. He's got a Kroger bag full where he's been picking them up. And I'm like, well, they're everywhere. I was like, how many shells did you shoot? I was like, he killed 12 or 13 birds. He said, I think I shot 6.5 boxes.
Holy cow. Wow.
It's like, that is a lot for
That's
one
impressive.
person.
Yeah.
With a pump, no less. I'm like, your shoulder's going to hurt tomorrow. Because I moved down to a 20 gauge several years ago dove hunting because I got tired of having a sore shoulder. But he's shooting a 870 with it's a 28-inch barrel. But, he's shooting a modified choke out of it. But every time he shoots at a bird, it's ba-ba-bow. That's every shot.
Oh, yes. We have some guys that way. Then we have some guys in our group who just don't miss.
Wow.
And that just makes you sick because you're beside them. You shoot a bird 3 times, you miss 3 shots, and he's beside you. Same thing. Remain nameless at this time.
Right.
But he's just that guy.
Yeah.
He's just confident, knows he's a good shooter. He'll raise up 1 shot, bird will fall, and you're like, I hate you a little bit. I'm not really hating you, but I hate you a little bit.
So that's my problem. I have that confidence, but not that shot.
Agreed.
So I'll just wait for the bird to get in. I'll throw up and shoot, and I'll miss half of them. So, more than half, actually, statistically.
Yeah.
Well, what do you have any, is it just kind of keep chugging along with what you guys have been doing with Spec Ops Xcursions, or do you have any future plans of expanding or doing anything different?
Yeah, so we've ran one lodge in Tennessee for the last, 4 years.
Yeah.
Bought our second lodge about 2 weeks ago.
Awesome.
So this will expand us up to 20 beds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we have 2 facilities, one 14 beds, one 6 beds.
Okay. Is that one in Tennessee as well?
They are.
Okay, awesome.
So we can have, more families out, more troops out.
That's great.
Then, again, the off seasons, we're doing more family retreats as well. So a guy can grab his spouse and his kids, come out to the farm, shoot skeet in the backyard, go fish in the backyard, in our little stocked pond, do some ATV rides, fire pit, grill out some hot dogs.
Yeah.
We're just going to have some fun. But, demand is that high. We were turning away troops last year.
Right.
And that's just the worst for me. Like, I felt horrible. Like, I'm so sorry, but I'm out of beds. I'm out of volunteers. You want to go. I want to get you out, but it's just not working out. So at that time, our board of directors kind of got together and said, we've got to change some things up in 18 for this year.
Yeah.
Just to not tell anybody no ever. That's just the worst. We've got to say yes every time.
Right.
So bought the new lodge, getting it fixed up and cleaned up, and open it to families up. Hope they're on Halloween weekend for our dad-daughter annual deer hunt.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So that's kind of the short-term goal, getting that place operational. Again, long-term goals. Hopefully, we keep raising some solid money, start buying some more properties up, and having not to rely 100% on volunteers.
Right.
If we have our own property, we can send somebody out anytime and do our own food plots. And again, a guy calls us up last minute, I want to go. I'm not saying no. I'm like, cool, I've got a farm you can go to.
Right.
Come to our new lodge. We have plenty of beds. Stay there, do your own thing, and get in the outdoors, blow off some steam, relax a little bit, decompress, and Monday, back to work.
Do you guys do, financially, is it all private donations, or do you do any fundraising, or how does that work?
We do some fundraising. We have an annual event here in Nashville, the Warrior Support Shoot.
Okay.
That was August, so, just last month at the Nashville Armory. It's an indoor, really cool shoot. We have really great sponsors, great prizes, local guys from across the entire state and local here at Nashville as well all show up and help out quite a bit. Then we do a bourbon bash every year in Clarksville, sponsored by Four Roses. It's a really cool night, private tasting, great event with that. Then we do a 5K in Union City in West Tennessee every October. So a few smaller events here and there, a few larger events. Then we also have, corporate sponsors. Private donations come in, a lot via PayPal. Just get a random Monday email. Hey, you've got $100 from somebody.
That's
who just
awesome, man.
Wants to help out.
Yeah, no, that's really, really cool. The I think it's cool that you guys adding the other lodge and wanting to open things up to families and spouses and kids and I guess doing that stuff that's like the field days that you talked about. Doing that stuff that I guess that's outside of the realm of hunting, something like. We've been thinking about more with Hunt Nashville, and we just did our writers round a week or two ago, and it went really well. And we're gonna do another one in December and try to do it like a quarterly thing. But doing stuff outside of just taking people hunting and just talking about hunting, of hunter recruitment and hunter retention, and getting people involved in the outdoors when maybe it has nothing to do with going whitetail hunting, and just getting them involved in the whole thing, because the trend for the hunter decline in America and the subsequently the amount that's going to conservation agencies over the last 10 years has been fairly substantial. It's gone from 15 million to 11 million over the last 7 years of hunters, and inevitably that means the less money is going to conservation agencies. So a lot of these guys, and I'm starting to think about, and a lot of people are starting to think about, how to get people involved in the outdoors that maybe have nothing to do with hunting, but at some point we may rely on a little bit financially of hikers and bird watchers and kayakers and bike riders and horseback riders and people who need to get involved in the conservation side of things, but that would benefit hunters by keeping public lands public and to help with conservation agencies to be able to keep game, but don't necessarily have any desire to shoot a deer. Maybe not, don't have anything wrong with it, just I don't want to go turkey hunting. And so I think it's really cool that you guys are doing some of those field days that aren't necessarily hunts, just getting people involved and getting them out.
Yeah, same for us. Evolution always happens. So, primarily focused day one was just hunting, get guys out and duck blind. Now things have morphed, like you said, into kayaking, hiking. Yeah. Some guys aren't into hunting, turkey and deer, but love the outdoors. So can I facilitate an event for them that's still off base, relaxing, our same structure? Yeah. Here's your cabin to stay in. Here's your tent. Here's your guide per se, possibly. Yeah. One thing for us going forward is with the new lodge, we're going to do some kind of writers rounds. Oh, awesome. A lot of guys play guitar but aren't in the outdoors. Yeah. You can come into the lodge for a weekend. We'll still barbecue it up near the fire pit. Bring in some musicians from Nashville, local artists to come out and just meet 2 or 3 troops and pick the guitar all weekend.
Yeah.
Write a song, great. If not, no big deal. Play
That's
some
awesome.
covers. Just kind of hang out and same thing. It's just a different way to decompress and get off base and have some fun.
No, that's awesome. Let me know when you guys start that up. I'd love to help with that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. No, that's a really good idea. It's, like you said, just getting people outside of maybe what traditionally I was talking to somebody about. It was the guy we did with Brian did a podcast with last week that'll come out soon. We were talking about how hunters and hunting in general, and fishing for that matter, is not a sport of acceptance by nature, because you have your spot and that's your spot and you don't want anybody going there, and you're not going to tell anybody about it. You'll lie about where you were to make sure they don't know what tree you were in when you saw that 160-inch deer. There's hunting by nature is meant to be exclusive, and it's trying to fight that nature a little bit to make it inclusive, because its exclusivity is what's caused its decline over the last couple of decades. And figuring out a way to make it inclusive, and some of that may be not having anything to do with hunting, but realizing that the benefit you get from some of these other sports where people enjoy the same outdoors you do, you may need those people eventually, because right now bird watchers don't pay for conservation. It's a bigger industry than hunting. Literally more money goes into bird watching every year than hunting, the hunting industry and all, calls and tags and everything else. But almost none of that money goes to conservation agencies. And so eventually the model's going to have to shift a little bit to where these people are enjoying the same thing that, essentially have been on hunters' backs for the last 100 years. Well, almost 100 years. I mean, since the 20s, that all these things have been on our backs for that time. And that's not necessarily to play woe is me, but we're not going to be able to sustain it forever, especially if numbers keep declining. And I would hope that they're leveling off, or will eventually level off, and in an ideal world get back up to where they used to be. But bringing some of those folks in and not being, tobacco chewing, beer drinking rednecks, which I am one, but not pushing that, I guess, trying to think, not pushing that view and what they view as hunters, and being like, we can kind of accept you guys into our ranks, and we want the same outcome you do. We may go about it a different way.
Sure.
We're not watching the birds, we're shooting the birds, but we want them to be plentiful, and we want them to be healthy, and we want to have an abundance of species, even if they're game and non-game.
Yeah.
So, I think it's, and that's a thing for a lot of people to keep in mind, and something that I don't think has really only started coming to light over the last few years. And, we talk about him all the time on this podcast because he's kind of one of the most mainstays in hunting right now. But Steve Rinella has been a good catalyst to shift, even though there's a lot of people disagree with a lot of his views. He's been a good catalyst to shift a little bit in that way. I mean, holding a Q&A at Starbucks headquarters as a hunter is a pretty big deal, considering how far left and how liberal they are in their views towards hunting. And so I think it shows that people like that looking ahead and realizing if we keep trending the way we're trending, we're not going to be able to sustain this. And if we can't sustain this, then we won't get to enjoy it forever, because TWRA is going to have to downsize to 25% of what they're doing now, which means nobody's going to be monitoring all those people that are poaching, which means those deer are going to die, and you're going to have nothing to do about it. And you're going to call a game board, and he's not going to be able to get there because his workload's too big, because he's covering the mid-state instead of a county or a section of a county, And so stuff like that comes into play a lot, that it's not doom and gloom, but it's also, hunters are not the best at looking ahead at those kind of things. And this is coming from one who really didn't start thinking about it until the last year or so.
Eye-opening, for sure.
Yeah, it is. So that's to bring the podcast way up at the end. But it is it's facing a problem that's there, but it's not posing that problem without a solution. I think the solution's there. It's just going to be a little bit uncomfortable for hunters. It's going to be saying, "Hey, dude, go with me. Let's go turkey hunting. I'm not even going to take a gun. That you've never been turkey hunting before. Or let's go fishing. I'm going to take you to my favorite spot. Or let's go shoot doves. Come on. I'll give you my stand." Stuff like that that's not natural to hunters. It's really not, unless it's your kid or your dad. But I think it's going to take that in order to keep the thing afloat.
For us in Tennessee, where I hunt at, it's the free hunting rights are also going away.
Yeah.
Everything's leased out where I grew up at.
Yeah.
It's just hard to go out there and find a block of woods a deer hunt.
Right.
That for their guys don't also deer hunt the same tiny block of woods and 2 fence rows.
Yep.
So I see a lot of issues there. And
yeah.
And we have some public land here, but it's not as plentiful as it is out west. I mean, we don't have a ton of options, especially when it comes to deer hunting.
Yeah.
You really need a lot of space.
You do.
And turkey hunting for that matter. Turkey hunting mainly because you're walking so much, but deer range so far. I mean, I've hunted a lot of 50-acre tracts over my couple of decades of deer hunting in Tennessee, and it's hard to hunt a 30, 40, 50-acre tract because the deer may be on your property for an hour out of the day. You just don't know. Or they may be
passing through at night, at midnight, from bedding to feeding or middle ground, and that's it.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's stuff that people need to keep in mind, and that I think that doesn't get talked about enough, because if we don't talk about it, nothing's going to fix, and then all of a sudden we're going to turn around and we're going to be blaming somebody else because we lost our hunting rights when really we could have done something to avoid it. Maybe just being a little bit nicer.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's where is the best place for people to find you? And is Spec Ops, Excursions, Special Ops? Which would you prefer?
So Special Ops.
It's more fun
Excursions.
to say Spec Ops.
It is. But, the Excursions, there's no E. It's just an Xcursions.
Why'd you drop the E? Just to be awesome.
Branding. I've got some buddies here in Nashville who are in that whole world of, digital marketing and branding. They're like, oh, drop the E, make it cool. And I'm like, that sounds awesome,
One less thing to spell.
Exactly. So, website, specialopsexcursions.org. We are, again, a 501c3 nonprofit.
Okay.
We're also on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Okay.
We don't do a lot of posts, 2 or 3 a week, perhaps.
Yeah.
You'll see a picture of a blurred out face with some random operator on a hunt, fishing trip, whatever it might be. Just thanking our volunteers and outfitters. Just trying to give back, a small shout out to somebody for giving us their time.
And if somebody wants to volunteer or donate, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Donations on our website. There's a PayPal credit card area you can always do. Again, I'm here in Nashville. I love meeting volunteers, face to face, shaking hands and saying, what do you want to do? Let's work together, game plan up of how you might want to give back to us this winter or this spring, or volunteering for our fundraising.
Awesome. And then if somebody wants to get involved, like an actual soldier wants to get involved, same place, website?
Same place, website. All things kind of go to our small staff here in Nashville. We always vet all of our soldiers and airmen and Marines, of course, through our proper channels to make sure everybody is good standing and all those good things. Our guys aren't injured. They're not broken. They're just guys like us.
Yeah.
Normal guys who want to get off the base and hang out.
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks for sitting down with me, and we'll have to do it again sometime.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man.